Okay, that.
All right, sir. Good afternoon. I'm Robert Culver. I was born and brought up in Gloversville, New York. I'm glad I'm having this opportunity to relate a little bit of what went on in World War II that maybe some people haven't heard about or saw. We'll get started here right away. This is a ship that I was on, at USS Bataan, and incidentally, this ship Bataan was named after the Bataan Death March, where the Japanese took our men capture and then put them on ropes, and if they stumbled and fell, they destroyed them. So it's very, very important that we remember some of these facts about war that is not all silliness or something not to think about. We owe a lot to our men for this, and we have a wonderful country to protect. I will put this right down here, if that's all right. And then this here is another picture of the ship, which is very important why I demonstrate this, because just a little bit later on, Mr. Roosevelt, before he died, the war wasn't going along awfully well. And he took this ship. We had been hit. You can see in the back here, there was a big explosion in the back here, and I have some other pictures to show you that will relate to that. And when this happened, we had to go back for repairs. And at that time, they put what was called night flying. They put lights all along the flight deck of the carrier. And then they had a man, this is important, dressed in a phosphorus suit with a gigantic net on the side. And he could actually direct these planes in here with this flying suit on and land them safely. So when this was taken care of, they also sent some of the bigger carriers in to have them turned over. And this, like I said, was a great change in World War II. We hit them at nighttime. They never knew whatever hit them. And that was a big change, and we owe it all to everybody that pitched in. So I'll go on with a few more things here that I brought home, which a lot of you guys my age or others, when they had advertising and so on and so forth, this was like old Ma Perkins when they had her on there, and they had the servicemen that they used. And then there's a couple more, which was very interesting. And these things go on, and I think they're absolutely. Here's another one with the Army uniform on, and we see here that they really forced this thing and pushed this thing into motion. All this stuff made our servicemen very, very happy that for what we was doing, we would be very, very proud of ourselves. I'll hurry this up now, and this is our scoreboard, and this is the carrier I was on. I'm very proud of that. That's a very beautiful scoreboard. We did everything we could do. And this included the night flying also. I'll go on here. And incidentally, before we go too far, there's Mr. Hope. And we don't know what we would do without him. He was with the troops all over, including the aircraft carriers too. And this is what he looked like when he was younger. This goes way back. Well, this is in the 70s. And I'll give you one more picture on him. And we'll get on to the book here again. I'll flip these things right along here. And there's a beautiful picture of him. And the man certainly done a job to make our morale very, very much for us to take our mind off the war itself. He's a wonderful person. Now here's some explosions aboard ship right here. And we have these little lines there. Those are called barriers. If the plane's tail doesn't catch on the carrier, it will automatically go into these carriers, and these carriers will wrap themselves, these heavy metal cables would get caught in the propeller, and that would stop the plane from going over the bow and losing a plane as well as a pilot. And I'll scoot right along here fast again. Time goes on. Here's some of those flags which many people have seen. These saved an awful lot of sailors and other lives aboard ship. We couldn't have too many communications because we were afraid the Japanese would pick up our language. So we went into the flag situation. I'll get you another thing here too. Here's a beautiful shot of the carrier I was on. Now this was a 500-pound bomb that exploded underneath the propeller. And when that happened, we only had what we call, some people call them screws, some call them propeller. So we only had one, so we laid what was called dead in the water. So they gave us a destroyer to protect us and see that we got home. And when we got home, a lot of this stuff was released. So it goes to show you, they took care of us fellows pretty darn good. Now let's see, got a couple more here maybe, or whatever we got, or maybe we got the end of it. But here's a good shot of what the whole thing was all about. There's what the war was all about there, to be able to come home to the United States, go see the Statue of Liberty, and do everything that we had done and be proud of it. Thank you very much. Now, was that too bad or too much?
What would you say is the most, what would you say is your most memorable moments while you were in service?
Well, we didn't really have an awful lot of time to think about home, I tell you that, and our parents and stuff like that. I think what it was with me, as well as the other fellows, I know a lot of them here, was actually fear. We didn't realize what a war was. And the size of the carriers we had, the amount of ammunition we carried, and for instance, the Franklin, one of our men here, lost a couple of brothers, and then he himself has the Purple Heart. And the Ticonderoga, which the plane went down into the ammunition which was inside and just blew everything on. Heck, we lost hundreds and hundreds of men. We never dreamed any of these things was happening. We didn't know what war was. We just figured you go in there, if you get shot, patch you up and you come back home. Well, it's not like that. You see your comrades don't come back with you, and they also, which is a very important thing, not to stress it, but to let others know how serious it is. That the men that we have lost, we don't always bury them right at the same time, because you're going from different islands and you get commands and so on. Some from your admiral. Sometimes you turn away from these things, and so they have to be stowed in the bottom of the ship, in the hull, we'll say it that way. And that is the coldest place we're in, where the ammunition also is. So about the only thing that really touched that is like a direct blast coming down towards the middle of the ship, or a torpedo coming in. So that's the only protection it has. So this also protected our men that we didn't want to have to leave there, but it had to be done. They would lie in any amount up that they had lost their lives, with cotton in their ears, wrap around, or a chrome rod between their legs, and this was all strapped around you. Then we were lined up on tables. Taps were played, the American flag, and they were slipped into the water. This is very, very strange for anybody that's like around Gloversville or other places to imagine happening, but to see them is enough to carry you for many years. So I guess we'll maybe stop with that, or whatever you think.
Are there any happy times while you were in service?
I don't think so, no. I think it was a constant planes landing, planes taking off. I started with 40mm guns, loading them, then they needed a Baker, and then I really enjoyed a Baker in Gloversville all my life. Incidentally, I started working here with the Leader Arrow in Gloversville, 11 years old, 12 hours, $12 a week. And then they had Tuttle's Bake Shop, Wentworth's Bake Shop, and so on and so forth. So by the time I was 16, I got pretty good. I came from a family of 8, and we used all that, any little things like that I could bring home. So when I did go in service, Henry Ford School, Dearborn, Michigan up there, they had several types of schools, and they had baking school there too. So they gave me baking experience. I would say probably within 6 months I had maybe 12 years experience that would have taken me here. And one more thing too, we worked in shifts, 12-hour shifts. I had 3 men with me, and you worked for 12-hour shifts, and we rolled every single roll of bread by hand. We had a mixer, that was electric, but then we'd cut the pieces out, weigh them on the scale, roll them up there like that, and then you put them back in the pans, and then they'd use your proofing. All of our pies and stuff was real fruit in brass cans, and they were treated with some kind of material so the acid didn't actually affect the berries and stuff like that. And this is something we will laugh at that though. When we made the pies, or when we made the cakes, or we made the cookies, depending on just how much the temperature was, the ship would roll. And this is cute too. One would get a little piece like this, one would get a great big one would be a little thing like this, and one would be a great big thing. So after everybody had their chow down, everybody was hoping for a good, smooth, sunny sea and nothing to bother us, you know. Cookie, cookie, come on, you know me. Got a cookie, got a cookie? You know? So that was one of the, I would say, the nicest things that ever could be. The food had to be as good as you could get it. Some of them didn't look very good. In fact, I'll give you a little illustration. I'm hoping I'm doing the wrong thing here. But anybody remember what they used to call boll weevil? I think there was a song on that one time. Well, the flour was put in these special bags, like burlap bags, and then they had a little nylon bag over the top of that. Then they had wax over the top of that, and then wax over the top of that. Well, after about 6 months, you've been out to sea, 4 or 5, 6 months, some little thing happened here. We'd be having our breakfast, we'd have toast or something or other, and some little something in there, and we hold it up to the light. Hey, Cookie, what the hell is this? Is this our fresh fruit here? What fresh meat? What is this actually happening? Not our fault. You know, they'd send it over to us, it was all worms and we got it. Well, with the heat and everything, it did take on a meaning there, and the actual worms was inside. And you start to think that we would make us sick. We ate it anyway. It didn't make any difference to us. So we had our good times, we had our bad times, and we came through it all well. I'm very appreciative of the part that I played into it.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much. I probably